I had always believed that love wasn't about how much money you spent on someone. For me, it was about shared experiences, trust, and the small gestures that showed how much I cared. But apparently my girlfriend didn't feel the same way. We had been together for 2 years when the topic of engagement came up. To be honest, I hadn't even thought about marriage until recently. I was focused on building my career and saving for the future, not rushing into wedding plans. Then one evening, while we were having dinner at a cozy little restaurant, she brought it up. I was thinking, she began playing with the edge of her wine glass, about how much I want a beautiful engagement ring. I've always dreamed of a big, sparkling diamond. I felt a pang of unease in my stomach. I hadn't been saving for an extravagant ring, and honestly, I didn't think it was necessary. I had always envisioned a simple, modest band to symbolize our commitment, not something that cost a fortune. But when I asked her how much she thought was appropriate to spend, her answer was shocking. At least $10,000, she said, without hesitation, her eyes wide with excitement. It needs to be something that really shows how much you love me. I was taken aback. I wasn't against buying something nice for her. But $10,000? That was way beyond what I was comfortable spending on a symbol. I tried to explain my point of view. Look, I understand that you want something special, but we could save that money for our future or use it for something that could benefit both of us, I said. It's not about the price. It's about what the ring represents. She didn't seem to care. Her expression darkened. So, you're saying you can't afford it? Or that you just don't want to spend that much on me? She asked, her voice rising slightly. I tried to stay calm. No, I'm saying that I think there are other ways to show love. A ring doesn't have to cost an arm and a leg to be meaningful, but she wasn't hearing me. She was focused on the price. She looked at me with a disappointed expression. I guess I was wrong about you, she muttered. I thought you were different, but maybe you're just like the rest of them. Cheap. That stung. Cheap wasn't something I ever thought I'd be accused of, especially not by someone I loved. But it seemed like my refusal to meet her demands had triggered something in her. I wasn't sure where things would go from here. The days following that dinner were tense, to say the least. Every time I saw her, I could feel the unspoken weight between us. It wasn't just about the ring anymore. It felt like something deeper was going on. She seemed distant, and I couldn't help but feel that the love we had built was suddenly being tested. I tried to reach out, to talk to her, but she would always brush me off with a vague excuse. I'm just tired, she'd say, or I've been busy with work. The more she pulled away, the more I began to question everything. Was it really just about the ring? Or was this something deeper that had been brewing under the surface for a while? One evening after another awkward silence-filled dinner, I decided to confront her. We need to talk about this because I feel like we're drifting apart, I said, trying to keep my tone calm and composed. What's really going on? Is it just the ring, or is there more to it? She sighed dramatically, looking away. I don't know if I can be with someone who doesn't understand me, she said, almost as if she had rehearsed the words. It's not just about the ring, but it's a symbol of what you're willing to sacrifice for me. If you can't even make that small gesture, then what does that say about our future? Her words stung more than I expected. I had never seen this side of her before. I thought we were on the same page about our future, about building something together. But in that moment, it felt like she was testing me, demanding something from me that I wasn't willing to give. I don't think you're being fair, I said, trying to hold back the frustration that was bubbling up inside me. I'm not saying I don't want to get you a beautiful ring. I just don't think we need to spend all that money to prove anything. I thought you knew me better than that. She shook her head, her expression hardening. You just don't get it, she snapped. This is something I've dreamed about since I was a little girl. I want a ring that shows you truly value me. If you can't give me that, then maybe we're not meant to be. I felt like the ground beneath me was shifting. I had never seen her like this before. Her demands had always been reasonable, even if a bit extravagant. But this was something else entirely. As the days went by, I began to notice how much the tension was affecting me. I was walking on eggshells around her, constantly second-guessing myself. The stress of trying to balance what I felt was right with what she expected was taking a toll on my mental and emotional well-being. It wasn't just about the ring anymore. It was about trust, respect, and whether or not we truly saw eye to eye on what mattered in a relationship. I knew I had to make a decision soon. I couldn't keep living in this limbo, unsure of where we stood. But at the same time, I didn't want to give in to pressure. I wasn't going to let her dictate how much love was worth based on a price tag. A week passed and I still hadn't come to a resolution in my mind. Every time I saw her, the distance between us seemed to grow. I tried to pretend that everything was fine, but I couldn't shake the nagging feeling that something wasn't right. I was beginning to feel suffocated by the pressure she was putting on me. Then came the night I will never forget. We had made plans to go out to dinner with some friends, but when I arrived at her apartment to pick her up, she was already dressed and ready to go. Her eyes were red, and her makeup seemed a little more intense than usual, as if she was trying to cover up the emotions that had been bubbling underneath. "I'm glad you're here," she said, giving me a tight smile. "We need to talk." My heart sank. I knew what was coming. The words I had been dreading for days now hung in the air between us, unspoken but felt nonetheless. "About the ring," she continued, her voice faltering for a second. "I just don't think you understand how important it is to me. I'm not asking for something crazy, just a little sign that you care enough about our future. I've been patient, but I'm not going to wait forever." I could see the frustration in her eyes, and I could feel it building up in me too. I had reached a breaking point. I couldn't keep putting myself through this emotional roller coaster. I took a deep breath, trying to steady myself, and finally spoke. "I don't think I can do this anymore," I said, my voice firm but calm. "I don't want to live in a relationship where everything is based on expectations and material things. I love you, but I can't compromise who I am just to meet someone else's idea of what a relationship should be." Her face froze, and for a moment, she looked as though she had been slapped. "What are you talking about?" she asked, her voice trembling. "You can't be serious. You're just upset about the ring, aren't you? We can work through this. We can." "No," I interrupted, cutting her off. "This isn't just about the ring. It's about respect. It's about values. And right now, I feel like you're asking me to prove my worth in a way that doesn't feel right to me. I can't keep pretending this is okay." Her face turned pale, and for the first time in our relationship, I saw her vulnerability. But it was too late. The damage had already been done. She was so fixated on her idea of what we should be that she had lost sight of what we were. "You're really going to end it over a stupid ring?" she asked, disbelief and anger rising in her voice. "This is what you want? Is to throw everything away just because of a ring?" I nodded, feeling my chest tighten. "It's not just a ring. It's the principle of it. Right. And I can't keep pretending that this relationship is going to work if we can't even agree on the basics." The silence that followed was deafening. She stood there, staring at me, as if trying to comprehend what I had just said. And in that moment, I realized that there was no going back. Our love was no longer enough to overcome the growing divide between us. Finally, she spoke, her voice low and shaking. "I can't believe you're doing this. I thought you were different. But now I see you're just like all the others, too cheap to care." Her words hit me harder than I expected. But I couldn't let myself be manipulated by guilt or shame. I had already made my decision. "I'm sorry, but I can't do this anymore. Goodbye." The days that followed were a blur. I had never expected it to end this way, but I also knew deep down that I had made the right decision. The weight that had been pressing on my chest for so long was finally lifted, but the aftermath was far from simple. I avoided contact with her for a few days, trying to give myself some space to process everything. I thought I would feel relieved, but the silence felt suffocating. We had shared so much memories, plans, laughter, and even some painful moments, but now, it felt like all of it had been wiped away in one conversation. She had texted me several times, asking if we could talk, apologizing for how things went down, but I couldn't bring myself to respond. I didn't know what to say to her anymore. It wasn't until a week later, when I ran into one of our mutual friends, Sarah, at a coffee shop, that the reality of what had happened really started to sink in. "Hey," Sarah greeted me with a warm smile, but there was a hint of hesitation in her voice. "I've been meaning to check in on you. How are you doing?" I sighed, rubbing my temples. "Honestly, it's been rough. I never thought it would end like that." Sarah gave me a sympathetic look. "I heard about the breakup. I don't know all the details, but I know it must have been hard." "It was," I admitted, "but I think it was for the best." She nodded slowly. "I get that, but there's something I think you should know. She's really struggling with it. She's been talking about you nonstop, telling everyone that you just couldn't handle the pressure, and that you're too insecure to make a commitment." I shook my head, my stomach churning. She's turning this into something it's not. I wasn't insecure. I was just tired of feeling like I was constantly being tested. All I wanted was to feel respected for who I am, not for how much money I could spend. I know, Sarah said gently, but I think she's hurt. I know you probably don't want to hear this, but maybe you should at least talk to her. She's been asking about you, even though she's angry. I think she still cares. I exhaled slowly, my mind racing. Part of me wanted to reach out, to try to explain myself, to fix things. But I knew deep down that I had already done all I could. I had made my feelings clear. If she truly cared about me, she would have respected my boundaries in the first place. Thanks for letting me know, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. But I don't think talking to her is going to change anything. I need to move forward. Sarah gave me a sad smile. I understand. Just don't forget that you deserve someone who sees you for who you are, not for what you can give them. As we parted ways, I felt a strange sense of clarity. Maybe I hadn't been the one to ruin this relationship. Maybe it wasn't my fault that we were in different places. In the end, the person I had loved had been more interested in getting a validation of her worth than building a genuine partnership. That, more than anything, was what had caused the rift. The weeks after the breakup were filled with a mix of emotions. On the one hand, I felt a sense of freedom that I hadn't experienced in a long time. The pressure was gone. The constant feeling that I had to prove myself to her had been lifted. But on the other hand, there was an emptiness that I wasn't quite prepared for. It wasn't the loss of high had made peace with that decision. It was the loss of the life I thought we were building together. I threw myself into work, hoping to distract myself from the constant stream of thoughts that kept swirling in my mind. The people around me, my friends, and even some family members, could tell that I was struggling, but they also saw the strength in my decision. I had stood up for myself when it mattered most. Had learned the hard way that love isn't about keeping someone around for the wrong reasons. One night, about a month after everything had ended, I received a message from her. It had been a while since I had heard from her, and I wasn't sure what to expect. Part of me hesitated, unsure if I should open it, but curiosity got the better of me. The message was long, and my heart sank as I read through it. I know things ended badly, and I'll admit that I was wrong about some things, she wrote. But I still miss you. I've been thinking about what happened, and I want to apologize. I was unfair to you, and I'm sorry for making you feel like your love wasn't enough. I realize now that I let my insecurities take over and cloud my judgment. I still love you. If you'll have me, I'd like to make it work. For a moment I sat there staring at the screen, unsure of how to respond. My first instinct was to let her in again, to forgive her, to try and fix what had been broken. But as I read the words over and over, I realized something. I had already made the decision to walk away for a reason. And while part of me still had feelings for her, I had already taken steps toward healing, toward finding myself again. I didn't want to fall back into the same patterns, the same expectations, the same pressure. I wanted someone who saw me as an equal, not someone who valued me based on what I could give them. I wanted a partnership, not a transaction. So I took a deep breath and began typing my response. I appreciate your apology, and I think it's great that you've recognized where things went wrong. But I've moved on. I can't keep going back to something that wasn't working for me. I'm in a better place now, and I hope you find the happiness you're looking for, but it's not with me. I hit send, feeling a sense of finality wash over me. It was the closure I needed, the confirmation that I had made the right decision. The next few days were filled with mixed emotions. On the one hand, I felt a sense of peace, knowing that I had stood my ground. But on the other hand, there was a lingering sadness. It wasn't easy to let go of someone you had once envisioned a future with. But deep down, I knew I was doing what was best for both of us. In the weeks that followed, I focused on myself, catching up with friends, diving deeper into my work, and rediscovering old hobbies. It was hard at first, but I realized I deserved to be with someone who valued me, not just my resources. One evening, I ran into her by chance. She seemed different, more polished, but still carrying that same air of tension. She apologized for everything, saying she had made a mistake. I've moved on, I replied, trying to keep it neutral. We both learned something important. She gave a quiet nod, smiled, and walked away. As I stood there, I realized that this was the closure I needed. I had learned to value myself, and the hardest part was over. but I had found the courage to move forward. And that was the greatest gift I could have given myself.